everyone. Today's training video will be on volume of learning, which I will further refer to as VOL. So, what is volume of learning or VOL? The ESQUAS website helps us out in this case. So, what is volume of learning? The Australian Qualifications Framework, which is the AQF, uses volume of learning to describe how long a typical student will take to develop the required skills and knowledge to be competent at each qualification level. The volume of learning represents all teaching, learning, and assessment activities, supervised and unsupervised, structured and unstructured. What this basically means is when the ESQA talks, like when the AQF talks about volume of learning, it simply means the total time and effort a typical student needs to complete a qualification and become competent in that. This includes everything involved in learning, not just the time in the classroom, but it also covers the self study training and assessment, the assignments, the practical training and assessments, both supervised and unsupervised. So overall, it's an estimate time of how long it usually takes the student to gain the required skills and knowledge. Moving further, the AQF volume of learning range is therefore a baseline you can use to determine the amount of training you need to provide. The typical student is assumed to not have any existing competency. The AQF now here, what this paragraph means is the AQF sets a rough guide for how long a course should take. We can use that guide as a starting point to decide how much training to include for the students. When they set this guide, the AQF assumes that the average student is starting from zero, that he does not have any existing competency, no prior skills, knowledge, or experience in that area. However, if a student already has existing skills and knowledge and experience in that area, the student will take less time compared to the student starting from zero to complete the qualification. So the volume of learning ranges for wet qualifications differently for different certificate levels. For example, certificate 1 is mentioned that it the volume of learning should be the AQF volume of learning should be 0.5 to 1 year and 600 hours to 1200 hours. The certificate 2 0.5 years to 1 year and 600 hours to 1200 hours. The certificate 3 as well as the certificate 4 and diploma, advanced diploma, graduate diploma and graduate certificate. So the ESQA specifies the guidelines and the range for each certificate and qualification courses. Now I will show you a format and a volume of learning of a qualification. For reference, we will take a certificate 3 qualification, that is SIT 30821. Okay, so this is a format. It is just a basic format that we use to create the volume of learning for a college and its students. However, it is not a mandatory format by the ESQA. It is the format that we use for our better understanding. So here we can see we mention the college's name, the college's RTO code, the CRICOS code, the location. This all this information we will get it from the documents that the owner of the college provides us. Okay, now the qualification. Here we mention the name of the qualification, the entry requirement for that qualification, the licensing, legislative, regulatory or certification requirements or consideration for that qualification, then the packaging rules for the qualification, then the duration for the qualification and the AQF levels. I already told you the AQF level we are using certificate 3 qualification, so the AQF level will be 1 to 2 years, 1200 to and 1200 to 2400 years, 2400 hours. Okay, so here is the format. So what we take is the unit code. Why do we take the unit code, unit title? We use the packaging rule for this. By this time you must have known what packaging rules is. For example, I will just give a brief. For example, if we are taking certificate SIT 3021, okay, this is the code of the qualification. The packaging rule of this qualification states that 25 units must be completed. So you must know this by now that the packaging rules is what the qualification mandates the college to teach the number of units to the students. So now moving on to the format. So we will mention the unit codes and title from the taken from the TJ website as per the packaging rules, unit code and title. Then we will here mention if that unit is core or elective. Okay, I will show you exactly how that VOL timetable looks like. Right now I'm just showing the format. Then after we have mentioned the core and elective for a unit, then we will mention if that unit has work placement of shift service period. But if you want to know what is work placement of shift service period, you can refer to the training video I made on the timetable, where I have explained properly about what is work placement and shift service period. Then we mention the prerequisite units. Now, what is a prerequisite unit? In simple terms, it is a unit a student must complete before the student is allowed to start another unit. Okay. For example, if if we take this unit SITH CCC 023, okay, and we search this unit on TGA training.gov.au, and we see this unit has a prerequisite unit which is SIT XFSA 005, which title is use hygienic practices for food safety. So to start this unit SITH CCC 023 use food preparation equipment unit, a student must mandatorily complete this unit first, then start this unit. The student cannot start both these units simultaneously. It is mandatory for a student to complete this unit first and then start this unit. Okay, so the next section is the weeks section. Okay, yeah, the weeks section. What In this section what we do is we allot the number of weeks for a unit. Wait, let me show you. We allot the number of weeks for a unit that the trainer needs to teach the students for. Now the total number of weeks for all the units that are in the packaging rules of a qualification should be under the tuition weeks, which is this, the tuition weeks. Okay, for a course. Now what is tuition weeks, break weeks and total weeks? So for a course that is of 1 year, which consists of 52 weeks, and this course is of 2 years. Okay, so this consists of 104 weeks. So the college is required to give 2 term breaks to the students for 4 weeks for a course consisting of 52 weeks. So this course is of 88 weeks, so the college will have to give 16 weeks of uh, breaks to the students, uh, consisting of 4 term breaks. Okay, so for this qualification we will have 104 total weeks and minus 16 break weeks, which will give us a total of 88 tuition weeks for this qualification SIT 30821. Okay, now the study columns, the study columns section. This section, uh, here we allot the number of hours for each unit based on the weeks the unit is allocated. Okay, we allot the number of self study hours, which includes assessment and reading, where the learner will study the unit without any supervision of the trainer. Then we allocate the in-class study hours, which the learners will be taught under the supervision of the trainer. It is also divided into 2 parts, which is the in-class training and in-class assessment. But the difference between the self-study and in-class training and assessment is, in the in-class, the trainer will give the students, the learners, the training, and he or she will assess their outcome. Now for the kitchen, the next section is the kitchen hours. This section is not mandatory in every qualification. Okay, this section will only come into effect where in a qualification there are units which require learners to undergo kitchen training to learn that unit. Similarly, if a qualification has units which require learners to learn and train in an automobile workshop, then this heading will change into workshop training. So the question is, now the next question is, how do we distribute the hours for the self-study, in class, and the kitchen training for the units of a qualification? Okay, sorry. Before I move further, I forgot to mention two things, which is the number of elements and the sequencing part. The number of elements is what we take from the TGA for each unit. For example, SITH CCC 023 on TGA, this unit has three elements. Wait, let me show you. 1, 2, 3. So we just mention it for our reference. And the sequencing part. The sequencing is how we sequence the unit for the students. So the sequencing is done like the prerequisite units will be placed first, then the actual unit, then the actual unit will be taught. So this is how we do the sequencing. Although the sequencing is done after all the VOL is made, which is this, the VOL is made, then the sequencing is done. So where were we? Yes. So how do we distribute the hours for the self-study, in class, kitchen training for the units, all the units of a qualification? And the qualification that we are working on is SIT 3021. So uh, we will know how I distributed these hours for this qualification, right? So there are two things that we keep in mind while distributing the number of hours for each unit. Okay, number one is that that excluding the self study hours, I repeat, excluding the self study hours, every training and assessment combined for a unit shall not exceed 20 hours in a week, which is mandatory by the ESQA guidelines. However, the self study hours and training and assessment is what the learners do in their personal time, so it will not be included in the college's training and assessment, right? Now number two is how we distribute the hours as per our understanding of a unit. For example, we distribute all the hours by reading the elements of a unit, performance criteria. Let me show you. By reading the elements, performance criteria, performance evidence, and the knowledge evidence of a unit. So you can see this unit, the SITH CCC 023, by reading all the relevant information, which is the element PCs, PE and KE of this unit from the TGA. I understood that this is more of a practical unit. Okay, so the learners need more training for this unit compared to the assessment. So I mentioned the training. Look, you can see here the training for 21 hour. The training would be 21 hours for 3 weeks and 9 hours for in-class assessment. And the assessment. Wait, this is wrong. The assessment. This will be assessment, and this will be training. The kitchen assessment is also less, which is of 9 hours, and the kitchen training is more, same as the training, in class training, which is 21 hours. Okay, also the self study hours should always be less than the actual training and assessment hours, because self study is meant to support the actual training and not replace it. So now how do we calculate all the in class, uh, kitchen, in class and kitchen hours within 20 hours a week for a unit? How we do is that we use an Excel formula. What we do is we put we do the sum of all the in-class training, assessment, kitchen assessment, training, then we divide it by the number of weeks. This gives us the total of hours a unit is being taught in 1 week. For example, now every unit has a total of 20 hours a week. But if I change this hours of a unit, for example, the SIT, I will use this unit only, SITS CCC 023, this unit. If I change this 21 to 35, the total number of hours per week for this unit will change and increase. Meaning what this means is this unit is being taught for more than 20 hours, which is 24 hours, which is not which violates the guidelines and of the ESQA. So we have to keep this for this unit for 20 hours. So now I will also so see this. After doing 21, this unit becomes 20 hours a week. Okay, so now one thing that I missed is how do we know that a unit has kitchen training or kitchen assessment. What we do is we go to TGA, and we search the unit, and we go through the elements and pieces of the units and understand that this unit will require practical training. For example, look, you can judge this unit by reading itself. Prepare dishes using basic methods of cookery. Okay, so this unit is by the name of this unit we can directly understand that this unit requires practical preparation of dishes which cannot be taught in class. The trainer cannot just teach the students to prepare dishes using in dishes just in class by giving presentations or any way how the trainer teaches. The trainer needs to give them practical training and assessment in the kitchen. Okay, so we usually read the unit, the elements, the performance criteria, the performance evidence, and the knowledge evidence of a unit, and then we judge whether that unit will require kitchen training and kitchen assessment or not. Okay, so one unit is we will take example of one unit which does not require practical kitchen training. So this unit is plan and cost recipes. So here we will only plan and cost the recipe where we will do budgeting and all these things. So in this unit, the learners would not need to go in actual kitchen to plan and cost recipes. They can do this in class itself. Okay. So after putting all this data into the respective columns for the assessment reading, training assessment, we do the total of each section and sum them all up to see how much and sum them all up to see how much training hours the college is planning to give to its students. See, you can see here I have done the sum of this section, the whole section, and done the sum of all these here, which is 2367 hours. This total number, this 2367 hours, should not be outside the limit given on the ASCA website, which is the ASCA states that for Cert 3, the hours should not be less than 1200 hours and not more than 2400 hours. So our what the college is planning to provide training to the students is 2367 hours, which is under and within the guidelines of the guidelines provided by the ESQA. So this was all for the training on volume of learning. Thank you for attending this training section. Thank you so much.